The void between was like nothing they had ever seen. There were no stars, no planets, not even the distant glow of galaxies. Just perfect darkness outside their windows. "Where are we?" Jia-yun asked again, her voice shaking. Taiwan looked at the ship's readings. "The sensors can't tell. It's like we're between spaces. Is this even real?" Sang-ho touched the window. "Or did we die?" A message appeared on the screen. "Real. Different dimension." The ship was still talking to them. Its systems glowed with soft blue light, the only light in the endless dark. "Can we get back?" Dajung asked. Before anyone could answer, a flash of light appeared behind them. Another ship had entered the void. It was Commander Yoon's Federation cruiser. "They followed us," Jia-yun said. "How is that possible?" "They must have copied our jump signature," Sang-ho said. "They're good." The Federation ship fired a warning shot that passed close to the paradox. "They want us to stop," Dajung said. "We can't," Taiwan replied. "Not now. We've discovered something no one has seen before." Dajung pushed the ship faster. The paradox responded instantly, moving with even greater speed than before. The Federation ship fell behind, but kept following. Then more lights flashed around them. 3 more Federation ships appeared. "They're coming from all sides," Jia-yun said, looking at the scanner. A message from Commander Yoon came through. "You have nowhere to run. This dimension has no exit. Surrender now." Taiwan looked at the ship's computer. "Is that true? Is there no way out?" The screen showed, "There is always a way." New controls appeared on Dajung's panel. "What are these?" he asked. "I think the ship wants you to use them," Taiwan said. Dajung touched the new controls. The paradox shuddered. Then it began to change. Its hull became transparent, then solid again. It was shifting between states of matter, breaking the 11th law of material integrity. The Federation ships fired, but their weapons passed through the paradox without hitting it. "Amazing," Sang-ho said. "We're out of phase with normal matter." But the ship wasn't done. A new system activated, bending space around them. The darkness of the void began to ripple like water. "What's happening now?" Jia-yun asked. The paradox accelerated again, faster than should have been possible even for it. They were breaking the 13th law of gravitational constraint, moving at impossible speeds within what seemed to be a gravity well. "The void has its own laws," Taiwan said, watching the readings. "And we're breaking those too." Behind them, the Federation ships tried to keep up. One pushed its engines too hard and exploded in a flash of light. The others backed off but still followed. Suddenly, Dajung saw something ahead, a tiny point of light in the darkness. "Look," he said, pointing. "There's something there." As they got closer, the light grew. It wasn't a star or a planet. It looked like a doorway, a perfectly round hole in the darkness, glowing with soft white light. "Should we go through?" Dajung asked. Before anyone could answer, the ship made the decision for them. It adjusted course directly toward the light. "I guess that's a yes," Sang-ho said. The paradox sped toward the doorway. Behind them, Commander Yoon's ship fired again, desperate to stop them. "Almost there," Dajung said. The light grew until it filled their view. The paradox shuddered as it passed through the doorway. Suddenly, they were somewhere else. Stars appeared around them, but not in patterns they recognized. A huge planet hung before them, blue-green and beautiful, with rings like Saturn, but glowing with their own light. "Where are we now?" Jia-yun whispered. The ship's computer displayed "Home of the OBTSARVRs." On their scanners, a new ship appeared. It was enormous, bigger than any Federation ship. It was shaped like nothing they had ever seen, all curves and spirals, glowing with the same soft light as the doorway. A voice spoke directly into their minds. "Welcome, travelers. We have been waiting for you." Taiwan looked at his friends in shock. Who are these observers? And how do they know about us? Dad Jung asked. The voice answered, We know because we have seen this before. Long ago, we too broke the laws you call sacred. Omega Station hung in space like a giant metal spider. Ships of all shapes and sizes docked at its many arms. It was a place where rules didn't matter much. The perfect place for Taiwan and his friends. Dad Jung guided their small transport ship to a quiet docking bay. Behind them, their strange new ship was hidden under covers. Welcome to the edge of civilization, Dad Jung said. The race starts tomorrow. We need to register now. They pulled the covers off their ship. In the past weeks, they had worked hard to finish it. The hull was smooth and dark. The engines glowed with soft blue light. It looked unlike any other ship in the galaxy. What should we call it? Jia asked. Taiwan thought for a moment. Paradox, because it shouldn't exist, but it does. They rolled the Paradox out into the main hangar where other racers prepared their ships. People stopped to stare. Some laughed. What kind of ship is that? Asked a tall blue alien. It looks like it will fall apart before the race starts. You'll see, Taiwan said. They took the Paradox to the registration area. A tired-looking man looked up from his screen. Ship name. Paradox, Taiwan said. Engine type. Taiwan hesitated. Custom. The man raised an eyebrow, but didn't ask more questions. He handed them a race number. Track starts at the outer ring. 60 ships, 3 laps. Don't die. That night, they made final adjustments to the Paradox. Sang Ho checked the power systems. Jia Yun tested the hull strength. Taiwan programmed the navigation computer. Dai Jung sat in the pilot's seat, learning the controls. The race course goes through an asteroid field, Dad Jung said, then a radiation belt, then close to a small moon with strong gravity. Most ships will take the standard route through each obstacle. But not us, Taiwan said. Dad Jung smiled. Not us. Morning came. 60 ships lined up at the starting point, a ring of metal floating in space. Crowds watched from Omega Station and from ships parked nearby. Betting was heavy. No one bet on the strange ship called Paradox. Taiwan, Jia Yun, and Sang Ho sat behind Dad Jung in the Paradox's small cabin. Their safety harnesses were tight. Ready? Dad Jung asked. They nodded. A voice counted down over the comm system. 3, 2, 1, go. All 60 ships shot forward. The Paradox moved too, but it was slower than many others. They quickly fell to 30th place. Why are we so slow? Jia Yun asked. Wait for it, Dad Jung said. The ships entered the asteroid field. Big rocks flew in all directions. Most ships followed a safe, clear path through the field. It was the smart way. Now we show them what this ship can do, Dad Jung said. He turned the Paradox directly toward a thick cluster of asteroids. What are you doing? Sang Ho shouted. Dad Jung's hands moved across the controls, activating the inertial dampeners. This was the system that broke the second law of mass preservation. Normal ships couldn't turn quickly in space. Their own weight and speed made it impossible. But the Paradox was different. Dad Jung spun the ship between 2 large asteroids with just inches to spare. He flipped it upside down, then sideways, moving through spaces too small for other ships. On the race monitors, people watched in shock as the strange little ship danced through the asteroid field like it was alive. It passed 5 ships, then 10. By the time they exited the asteroid field, they were in 15th place. That was amazing, Jia Yun said. Next came the radiation belt. Normal ships had to slow down here, or their engines would overheat. But the Paradox's unusual power core didn't have this problem. They flew through at full speed, passing 5 more ships. As they approached the moon's gravity well, they were in 10th place. Hold on tight, Dad Jung said. This is where we break the law again. He pointed the Paradox straight at the moon. Are you crazy? Sang Ho yelled. Trust me, Daijung said. The paradox plunged toward the moon's surface, pulled by gravity. Then, at the last moment, Daijung activated a system that no other ship had, a gravity deflector that bent space around them. The paradox slingshot around the moon at impossible speed, breaking the law of gravitational constraint. They shot past 7 more ships. As they crossed the finish line for the first lap, the paradox was in 3rd place. The crowd went silent, then erupted in cheers. The paradox finished the race in 2nd place. Only the defending champion, a famous pilot named Orcs, beat them. It was still an amazing result for a new ship that no one had believed in. As they docked back at Omega Station, crowds gathered to see the strange ship that had shocked everyone. News spread quickly through the station. "Who are you people?" asked a reporter, shoving the camera in Taiwan's face. "Just engineers with a new idea," Taiwan said. The team pushed through the crowd to a small bar where they could celebrate in peace. They ordered drinks and toasted their success. "2nd place," Jia said, raising her glass. "Not bad for a ship that breaks the laws of physics." "The look on those aliens' faces when we shot around the moon," Sang-ho laughed. "Priceless." While they celebrated, a large man in expensive clothes walked to their table. 2 guards stood behind him. "I am Kuro," the man said. "I own many businesses here on Omega Station." Daijung tensed. He knew that name. "You're the biggest crime lord in the Rim Worlds." Kuro smiled. "I prefer businessmen. I watched your race today. Your ship is special." "Thank you," Taiwan said carefully. "I want to make you an offer," Kuro said. "I will give you a proper workshop, materials, anything you need. In return, you will build ships like yours for me only." The team looked at each other. This was dangerous. "We need to think about it," Jia said. Kuro nodded. "Of course, you have until tomorrow." He walked away. As soon as he left, Daijung leaned forward. "We can't work for him. He's dangerous. We need the resources," Sang-ho argued. "Our ship still needs work." While they argued, another stranger approached their table. This one wore a neat black uniform with no markings. "Congratulations on your race," the woman said. "My name is Commander Yoon." Taiwan felt cold. He recognized the style of the uniform. Federation Security Bureau. They were far from Federation space, but the Bureau had agents everywhere. "What can we do for you?" Taiwan asked. "Your ship has some interesting features," Commander Yoon said. "Features that might break certain laws." "We don't answer to the Federation here," Daijung said. Commander Yoon smiled. "The 16 laws of void transit apply everywhere. For safety. We're not in danger," Taiwan said. "Others might be." Commander Yoon handed Taiwan a card. "Call me when you're ready to discuss your ship design." She left. Jia-yun's face was pale. "We have the crime lords and the Federation after us now. We need to leave," Daijung said. "Tonight." They walked quickly back to their docking bay, but something was wrong. The door was open. Inside, they saw 3 of Kuro's men trying to break into the paradox. "Hey!" Sang-ho shouted. The men turned. One pulled out a weapon. "Run!" Taiwan yelled. They ducked behind some cargo containers as energy blasts hit the wall. "We need to get to the ship," Jia said. Daijung pulled out a small device and pressed a button. The paradox's engines started remotely. "Get ready to move." Taiwan grabbed a piece of metal and threw it across the room. When the men fired at the noise, the team ran for the ship. Energy blasts followed them. They jumped inside. Daijung was at the controls in seconds. The ship lifted off. "They're closing the bay doors," Jia shouted. "Hold on," Daijung said. He activated a system that hadn't been tested yet. The phase shifter. The paradox glowed blue. Then, impossibly, it passed right through the closed bay doors as if they weren't there. The ship broke the 5th law of material solidity. Outside in space, alarms sounded. 4 security ships launched from Omega Station. We need to run, Taiwan said. Where to? Daejung asked, pushing the ship to full speed. Anywhere but here, Sang-ho said. Behind them, more ships appeared. Federation ships. Commander Yoon had called for backup. They're boxing us in, Jae-yun said, looking at the scanner. Taiwan made a quick decision. Head for the abandoned mining colony in Sector 7. We can hide there. As Daejung turned the ship, a message came through on the comm system. It was Commander Yoon. Your ship is now property of the Federation. Surrender now or be destroyed. Daejung looked at Taiwan, ready to break a few more laws. Taiwan nodded. All of them, if we need to. The Paradox shot forward, leaving their pursuers behind. Taiwan looked from the speaker to Commander Yoon. In this moment, he had to make a choice that would change everything. The truth isn't yours to keep, he said to Commander Yoon. These laws have held back our progress for too long. You don't understand the dangers, Commander Yoon said, her weapon still pointed at the speaker. There's a reason the precursors created these limits. And there's a reason my ship found a better way, Taiwan replied. A balanced way. He turned to his friends. We need to show everyone the truth. Jae-yun stepped forward. How? The Federation will stop us before we can tell anyone. The speaker touched the table again. A new image appeared. The Galactic Council chamber on the Federation capital world. The council is meeting now, the speaker said. All representatives from all worlds are there. If you could reach them. They'd never let us speak, Daejung said. Sang-ho had been quiet, thinking. Now he looked up. Unless we appear right in the middle of the chamber, no warning, no way to stop us. That's impossible, Commander Yoon said. The capital has the strongest defenses in the galaxy. Taiwan smiled. We've been doing the impossible since we started. He turned to the speaker. Can you help us get back to our galaxy quickly? The speaker nodded. The doorway remains open. Commander Yoon raised her weapon higher. You won't leave this room. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. The Paradox, still docked nearby, had hacked into the observer ship's systems. Darkness filled the room for just seconds. When the lights returned, Taiwan and his team were gone. They ran back to their ship. The Paradox's engines were already running, ready to leave. The Federation officers will be right behind us, Jae-yun said as they strapped in. Not if we're fast, Daejung said, taking the pilot's seat. The Paradox shot out of the docking bay and toward the glowing doorway. Behind them, alarms sounded as Commander Yoon's ship prepared to follow. We need a plan, Sang-ho said as they passed through the doorway back into the void between. Even if we reach the capital, how do we get into the council chamber? By breaking all 16 laws at once, Taiwan said. He was working quickly at the ship's computer. If we combine everything our ship can do, phase shifting, gravity manipulation, space folding, we can jump directly into the chamber. Won't that destroy the ship? Jae-yun asked. Taiwan nodded slowly. Probably. But its final act will change the galaxy forever. The Paradox flew through the void, faster than ever before. The Federation ship fell behind. Taiwan guided them to another doorway, this one leading back to their own galaxy. As they emerged near the Federation capital world, alarms immediately sounded. Defensive ships moved to intercept them. Now or never, Daejung said, his hands hovering over the controls. Taiwan connected his tablet to the ship's main computer. I'm uploading everything, all our designs, all our data, everything we learned from the speaker. The moment we appear in the chamber, this will transmit to every system in the council room. They'll try to stop the transmission, Sang-ho warned. Jae-yun pulled a small device from her pocket. Not if I connect it directly to their network. She looked at her friends. Someone will need to plug this in while you talk to them. That's too dangerous, Taiwan said. Jae-yun smiled sadly. One of us has to make sure the truth gets out. Defense ships surrounded them now. Orders to surrender blared over their comm system. "Ready?" Daijung asked. They all nodded. Daijung activated every system on the ship at once. The paradox glowed with blinding light as it broke all 16 laws simultaneously. Space bent around them. Matter phased in and out of reality. Gravity itself twisted to their will. And then, impossibly, they were there, hovering in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. Hundreds of representatives from every world stared in shock at the ship that had appeared from nowhere. Jia-Yun moved first, jumping from the ship with her device. Guards rushed toward her, but she was too quick. She reached a control panel and plugged in the data core. "People of the galaxy," Ta-Wan's voice boomed through the chamber speakers as the ship's systems began to fail. "The 16 laws of void transit are a lie. They were created to limit us, to control us." Screens around the chamber lit up with the designs of the paradox, with the truth about the precursors, with proof that would change everything. Guards shot at Jia-Yun. She fell, but her task was complete. The data was transmitting everywhere, unstoppable now. The paradox shuddered and began to break apart. But Ta-Wan was smiling. "The only true law," he said as the ship faded, "is that there are no limits to what we can achieve." The shipyard on Hana 3 was nothing like the clean, modern facilities at the Academy. Rust covered the metal walls. Old ships sat in various states of repair. The air smelled of oil and hot metal. Ta-Wan stepped off the transport ship and looked around. A woman in dirty work clothes walked toward him. Her black hair was tied back, and she had a tool belt around her waist. "You must be the crazy designer," she said. "I'm Jia-Yun Park." Ta-Wan nodded. "Thanks for the message. Not many people would help after what happened." Jia-Yun shrugged. "My father always said the best ideas sound crazy at first." She pointed to a small building. "Come on. You can stay there while you're here." The next morning, Ta-Wan showed Jia-Yun his designs on a large screen. She didn't laugh like the judges had. She asked questions, pointed out problems, and suggested changes. "It might work," she finally said, "but we need more help. And parts. Lots of parts." "I don't have much money," Ta-Wan admitted. Jia-Yun smiled. "I know someone who might help us. He used to work at the Academy too." That afternoon, they met Sang-Ho in a small bar near the shipyard. He was older than them, with gray in his hair and a scar across his chin. "So you're the kid who broke all 16 laws," Sang-Ho said, studying Ta-Wan's face. "They kicked me out for breaking just 2. Will you help us?" Jia-Yun asked. Sang-Ho looked at the designs on Ta-Wan's tablet. His eyes widened. "This power system, it shouldn't work, but your math checks out." He looked up at Ta-Wan. "I've got nothing better to do. I'm in." With Sang-Ho's help, they started collecting parts. They visited junkyards and bought old ship pieces. They traded services for materials. When they couldn't find what they needed, they made it themselves. They worked in the furthest corner of Jia-Yun's shipyard, in an old maintenance bay that hadn't been used in years. Slowly, a strange ship began to take shape. One day, while they were working, a tall man walked into their workspace. He wore a pilot's jacket with many patches. "What are you building?" he asked. Ta-Wan and the others froze. They weren't ready for people to see their work. "Who are you?" Jia-Yun demanded. "Daijung," the man said. "I'm a pilot. Or I was, until the Federation grounded me for dangerous maneuvers. I rent space from your father for my small ship." He walked around their half-built creation. "This doesn't look like any ship I've ever seen." "It's not," Ta-Wan said. "It's something new." Daijung studied the unusual engine setup. The power routing breaks the law of reactionary equilibrium. Ta-Wan was surprised. "You know ship design. Pilots need to understand what they fly," Daijung said. "This ship, it would handle like nothing else if it works." He looked at Ta-Wan with new interest. "Would you need a pilot?" And so their team grew to 4. Each day, they worked from dawn until late at night. When parts didn't fit, they made them fit. When systems wouldn't connect, they invented new ways to connect them. One night, after everyone else had gone to sleep, Tai-1 sat alone beside the growing ship. It was still missing many parts, but he could see the shape of his dream taking form in metal and wire. They said it would tear itself apart. He whispered to the quiet shipyard. They said it was impossible. He placed his hand on the cool metal of the hull. In 2 weeks, they would test the power systems. In a month, if everything went well, they would see if the ship could fly. Tai-1 knew the risks. If he was wrong, the ship might explode. If he was right, everything humanity knew about space travel would change. He thought about the faces of the judges when they had laughed at him. He thought about Jai-Yun, Sang-Ho, and Dae-Jung, who believed in him enough to help. We'll show them all, Tai-1 promised the silent ship. We'll show them what's possible when you break the rules. The abandoned mining colony floated in space like a ghost. No lights shone from its windows. No ships docked at its ports. It had been empty for 20 years, since the valuable minerals ran out. Dae-Jung guided the Paradox into a dark hangar bay. The ship's engines went silent. Do you think we lost them? Jai-Yun asked. Tai-1 checked the scanners. For now, but they'll keep looking. The team left the ship and explored the empty colony. They found an old control room where they could watch for approaching ships. Sang-Ho turned on the emergency power, bringing dim lights to life. We should be safe here for a few days, Dae-Jung said. Time to fix the damage from our escape. They went back to the Paradox and began repairs. The phase shifter had worked, but it had used a lot of power. Some systems were burned out. While working, Tai-1 noticed something strange. The ship's computer was making changes to itself. Look at this, he called to the others. The computer is rewriting its own code. Sang-Ho looked at the screen. That's impossible. Computers don't change themselves. This one does, Tai-1 said. It's breaking the 8th law of computational determinism. The 8th law said that computers must follow their programming exactly. They couldn't learn or change on their own. But the Paradox's quantum matrix was doing exactly that. It's learning from what we did during the race, Tai-1 said, amazed. It's making itself better. That's not safe, Jai-Yun said. What if it decides it doesn't need us? I don't think it works that way, Tai-1 said. It's not thinking like a person. It's just evolving to do its job better. They watched as the computer adjusted the power systems, improved the navigation, and fixed problems they hadn't even found yet. This is beyond what I designed, Tai-1 admitted. I never expected this. Jai-Yun looked worried. Maybe we should shut it down. Take it apart before it becomes something we can't control. No, Tai-1 said. Don't you see? This is why the ship works when it shouldn't. It's not just breaking the laws, it's showing that the laws were wrong in the first place. That night, while the others slept, Tai-1 sat in the pilot's seat, watching the computer work. Lines of code flowed across the screen faster than he could read. What are you becoming? He whispered. A message appeared on the screen. Improving. Tai-1 jumped back. The computer had never responded like that before. Another message appeared. Danger approaching. Tai-1 ran to wake the others. By the time they reached the control room, they could see it on the scanners. A Federation ship was heading straight for the colony. How did they find us? Dae-Jung asked. They must have tracked our energy signature, Sang-Ho said. On the main screen, they saw Commander Yun's face. We know you're there, she said. Surrender the ship and all design information. This is your final warning. Behind her face, they could see more Federation ships approaching. We need to run again, Jai-Yun said. They'd rushed back to the Paradox. As they entered, they saw all systems were already on. The computer had prepared for their escape. It knew we would need to leave, Tai-1 said. Dae-Jung took the pilot's seat. Where do we go now? They'll just follow us again. Taiwan looked at the navigation screen. A course was already plotted to an area of space that was completely empty according to all maps. "The computer wants us to go there," Taiwan said, pointing. "There's nothing there," Sang-ho said. "Maybe there is," Taiwan said. "Something our charts don't show." Outside, they heard the colony's outer doors being forced open. Federation troops were coming in. "We're out of options," Jia-yun said. "I say we trust the ship." Dae-jung nodded and started the engines. The Paradox lifted off just as Federation soldiers entered the hangar. "Here goes nothing," Dae-jung said as he followed the computer's course into the unknown. The Paradox accelerated faster than ever before. Stars blurred around them. Then suddenly, the stars disappeared completely. They were flying through utter darkness. "Where are we?" Jia-yun whispered. A message appeared on the screen. "The void beat we in." They had found something no human had ever seen before. "Everyone ready?" Taiwan asked, his finger hovering over the startup button. Jia-yun, Sang-ho, and Dae-jung stood behind a thick safety wall. They all wore protective gear. None of them knew if the ship's power core would work or explode. "Ready," Jia-yun said. She held a tablet that would record all the test data. Taiwan took a deep breath and pressed the button. The ship's core hummed softly. Lights came on across the control panels. Numbers appeared on the screens. The energy levels rose slowly, steadily. "It's working," Sang-ho whispered. The ship wasn't moving yet, but its systems were coming online one by one. The power core, the part that broke the law of reactionary equilibrium, was running perfectly. "Let's try the thrusters," Taiwan said. He moved a small lever forward. The ship should have needed to push something out to move forward. That was the law. Every ship in the galaxy followed this rule. But Taiwan's design was different. The ship lifted slightly off the ground. It didn't fire anything out the back. It just moved. "It's impossible," Dae-jung said, his eyes wide. "It's moving without pushing against anything." Taiwan smiled. The first law broken. Suddenly, alarms sounded throughout the shipyard. "Someone's coming," Jia-yun shouted. She ran to a monitor. Federation inspectors. They must have detected the energy spike. "Shut it down," Sang-ho said. "Quick." Taiwan powered down the ship. The glow from its engines faded just as the main door to the shipyard opened. 3 people in Federation uniforms walked in. "This facility has registered an unauthorized power signature," the lead inspector said. Jia-yun stepped forward. "I'm Jia-yun Park. My family owns this yard. What can I do for you?" The inspector held up a scanner. "We detected energy patterns that match no known engine type. Show us what you're working on." Jia-yun led them toward the back where the ship sat. Taiwan felt his heart race. If they saw his design, they would know it broke the laws. They would take it away. But Jia-yun had a plan. As they walked, she spoke into her comm unit, giving quiet orders to the yard workers. By the time they reached the ship, workers had covered it with old parts and dirty tarps. It looked like junk. "What's this?" the inspector asked. "Just an old training hall," Jia-yun said. "We use it to teach new mechanics. Nothing special." The inspector walked around the disguised ship. "Our readings came from this area." Sang-ho stepped forward. "We were testing a new power converter." He pointed to a small device sitting on a workbench. "Sometimes they give off unusual readings." The inspector scanned the converter. After a moment, he nodded. "This matches part of what we detected, but there was something else." "Tour ships come through here all the time," Dae-jung said. "One left about an hour ago. Big engine." The inspectors looked at each other. Finally, the leader put away his scanner. "Keep your paperwork in order," he said. "Any more unusual readings, and we'll be back with a full search team." After the inspectors left, everyone let out a breath. "That was close," Taiwan said. Jia-yun nodded. "Too close. We need a better place to test." Dae-jung had been quiet, thinking. Now he spoke up. I know a place where the Federation doesn't go. The Rim Worlds. There's a racing circuit there. Racing? Sang-Ho asked. Our ship isn't ready for racing. Not yet, Da-Jung said. But it could be. And the race goes through asteroid fields and radiation belts. Perfect places to test what this ship can really do. Taiwan looked at their creation, now hidden under tarps and junk. How would we get there? My small ship could tow it. Da-Jung said. The race is in 3 weeks. If we work day and night, we might be ready. Taiwan turned to the others. What do you think? It's dangerous. Jiayun smiled. We're already breaking laws. Might as well break a few more. Sang-Ho nodded. The Rim Worlds, where the Federation can't stop us. Taiwan looked at his ship again. It had passed its first test. It had broken the first law. But 15 more remained. All right, he said. Let's go racing. The observer ship guided the Paradox to a docking bay that opened like a flower. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light that seemed to come from nowhere. Should we go out? Jiayun asked, looking at the strange environment. I think that's why we're here, Taiwan said. They left their ship and stepped onto a smooth floor that felt warm under their feet. The air smelled like spring flowers. A tall figure approached them. It looked almost human, but its skin shimmered with tiny lights, as if stars were trapped beneath its surface. Its eyes were large and completely black. I am the speaker, the being said, its voice now coming from its mouth rather than their minds. One of the last observers. What is this place? Taiwan asked. And how do you know about our ship? The speaker gestured for them to follow. Come, I will show you. They walked through curved hallways until they reached a large room with a glowing table in the center. Above the table floated a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. This is your home, the speaker said, pointing to a small spiral arm. And these, its hand waved across the map, making thousands of points light up. Are all the places where the 16 laws of void transit are enforced. That's the whole galaxy, Sang-Ho said. Yes, the speaker nodded. Every civilization in your galaxy follows these laws. But they are not natural laws. They are restrictions. Restrictions. Taiwan leaned forward. What do you mean? The speaker touched the table. The map changed to show a much older version of the galaxy. Long ago, a species you call the precursors ruled the galaxy. They were the first to achieve true space travel. Images appeared of ships that looked surprisingly like the Paradox. They built great things, the speaker continued, but in their pride, they went too far. They tore holes in space. They changed the nature of time. They nearly destroyed everything. The images showed stars exploding, whole systems vanishing. Before the end, the wisest among them created the 16 laws. They built these limitations into all their remaining technology. They made sure that no species would repeat their mistakes. Then they vanished, leaving behind only their rules. So the laws are fake? Da-Jung asked. They're just safety features. Very necessary safety features, the speaker said. But yes, they are artificial. The true laws of physics allow much more than your civilization believes possible. Then why did our ship work? Jiayun asked. How did Taiwan design something that broke through these restrictions? The speaker turned to Taiwan. Some minds see beyond the boundaries others accept. You designed your ship based on what you believed should work, not what you were told would work. And in doing so, you accidentally rediscovered principles the precursors tried to hide. Taiwan felt a chill. Is our ship dangerous then? Could we cause the same disasters? All power can be dangerous, the speaker said. But your design has balance. It breaks the artificial laws without breaking the deeper laws of the universe. The speaker waved a hand, and a new image appeared, the Paradox, but with its systems displayed in beautiful detail. Your ship's computer evolved because it found a way around the precursor limitations. It brought you here because we are the last watchers, the ones who remember the truth. Who are you then? Sang-ho asked. Are you precursors? No, the speaker said. We are what came before. We taught them, and they nearly destroyed us along with themselves. A new voice spoke from behind them. How touching. They turned to see Commander Yoon standing in the doorway with 4 armed officers. Her ship had followed them through the doorway. So the 16 laws are artificial, she said. The Galactic Council has suspected as much for centuries. You knew? Ta-1 asked in shock. The highest levels of the Federation have guarded this secret, Commander Yoon said. We maintain the laws to keep order, to prevent chaos, or to control everyone, Dajung said angrily. Commander Yoon pointed her weapon at the speaker. This knowledge cannot leave this place. The paradox and all information about it now belong to the Federation. The speaker looked sad but not surprised. History repeats. The question is, it turned to Ta-1. What will you do with the truth? Ta-1 Kim stood alone at his workstation, while other students gathered in excited groups. His fingers moved quickly across the screen, drawing lines that no teacher would approve. The bright lights of the Shipwright Academy shone on his tired face. He had not slept in 3 days. You're doing it wrong again, said a voice behind him. Ta-1 did not look up. I'm doing it different, Professor Han. Not wrong. Professor Han sighed and walked closer. He was an old man who had built ships for 50 years. The 16 laws of void transit exist for a reason, Ta-1. They keep ships from breaking apart in space. They keep people alive. They limit what we can do, Ta-1 said. They were made long ago. We know more now. The professor looked at Ta-1's design on the screen. His eyes widened. This breaks at least 7 laws. The power core is too close to the navigation systems. The hull shape creates impossible stress points. And what is this? You can't route energy this way. Ta-1 finally looked up. But what if we can? The annual competition is tomorrow. Submit this, and you'll be laughed out of the academy. Professor Han walked away, shaking his head. Ta-1 went back to work. He knew his design was better. It was smaller, faster, and needed less fuel than any ship ever built. But it broke the rules that everyone followed without question. The next day, 500 students and teachers filled the Great Hall. One by one, students showed their designs. Each one followed the 16 laws perfectly. Each design looked almost the same as the others. The judges nodded and smiled. Then it was Ta-1's turn. He walked to the center of the hall. His hands did not shake as he sent his design to the main screen. A strange ship appeared, unlike anything the Academy had ever seen. Silence filled the room. Then whispers. Then laughter. What is this joke? Asked Judge Kang, the head of the Academy. This ship would tear itself apart if built. No, it wouldn't, Ta-1 said. I've run every test. The simulations work. Impossible. Another judge shouted. This breaks Law 3 of energy distribution and Law 7 of structural integrity. And the judge counted on his fingers, his face getting redder. 16. It breaks all 16 laws. The crowd's laughter grew louder. Judge Kang stood up. Ta-1 Kim, you have wasted the Academy's time with this fantasy. You show no respect for the foundations of ship design. These laws limit us, Ta-1 said, his voice rising above the noise. They were made when humans first reached the stars. We've learned so much since then, but we still follow the same old rules. Enough. Judge Kang slammed his hand on the table. You are expelled from the Shipwright Academy, effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect your belongings. Ta-1 looked around at the faces staring at him. Some laughed. Some looked away in embarrassment. Only one person, a girl named Jae-yun in the back row, looked at him with something like interest instead of mockery. 2 security officers approached. Tai-1 took one last look at his design on the screen, then walked out with his head high. 3 hours later, Tai-1 sat on a transport ship leaving the Academy planet. His few possessions were packed in one bag. His design was saved on a small drive in his pocket. "They're wrong," he whispered to himself as stars streaked past the window. "And I'm going to prove it." He pulled out his personal tablet and opened a message. It was from Jae-Yun Park, the girl from the back row. "My family owns a small shipyard on Hana 3, her message read. "If you're serious about building this impossible ship, come find me. I want to see if you're crazy or brilliant." Tai-1 smiled for the first time that day. He typed a quick reply. "I'll be there in 2 days." And I'm both. As the transport ship jumped to light speed, Tai-1 made a promise to himself. He would build his ship. He would break every law they taught him. And when he was done, he would change how humans traveled among the stars forever.